What made you a Levite? You would have to be a descendant of Levi. You would have to be of the tribe of Levi. You'd have to be a Levite, right? Now, you could say you were a Levite fraudulently, but at the end of the day, what did you have to do to be a priest? You had to prove that you came from the tribe of Levi. And how'd you do that? How would you prove that? What's that? I can't hear. You'd have to reference your genealogy. Hey, Aaron was my great. However, you would prove through genealogy that you were of the tribe of Levi. That's what you'd have to do. So, if you couldn't prove it, you were thrown away from the priesthood. You were not allowed to be part of the priesthood. Now, this is an issue because Ezra experienced this. Some people still tried to slip in with him, and Nehemiah experienced that. We'll see that when we get in the book of Nehemiah. In the short time that we have left, let's start chapter 3. Yes.
I'm going to miss it if we pause for a second and just think how mind-boggling it is for them to have kept such copious records, right? I mean, right now, if you wanted to find out anything historically present day, you go down to the magistrate office and you look up the records, and the deeds, and the plots, and birth records as well, and similarly. Basically, just like how you would look up archives to find out who owned what, lived where, and sired whom, there were records of this.
Yes.
The records were meticulously kept, such that if there was no record that could be relied on, then they didn't go by word of mouth.
No.
So consequently, some groups were ousted, rightly or wrongly, but there was no official record. It's not a matter of somebody, being able to,
You can vouch for me, right?
skills on and talk their way through it.
Yeah.
But to have a record. As a matter of fact, we will find out as we travel through this book, how even the Persians were meticulous about their record.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, so were the Babylonians. Not so much the Assyrians.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was just tough on the northern tribes when
Yeah.
they were dispersed.
Right.
And there was no central housing of the records.
Right.
Just like it happens in our society today, there's a central housing of the records.
Right.
And by God's providence, despite the leadership change, different empires, the records were kept as if it was a golden, secure vase.
Right.
Carried through.
Right. And they had prophecy that also assured them that this wasn't going to be their permanent state. In 70 years, they were coming back. And so they had to be ready to reassemble and to reinstitute the worship in the temple. And
very rarely would a conquering emperor go in, destroy a temple, take all the artifacts of the temple, take all the records, written records, and then carefully store them in their centralized repository of records.
Right. Very, very good point. That Nebuchadnezzar did a lot to preserve it, knowingly or unknowingly. Yes.
About the servants, or they also have to do their lineage. That's what I'm asking.
About the servants? It doesn't. One of the things you'll find in Nehemiah, them actually verifying those who could live in Jerusalem and who couldn't, who had to live on the other side of the wall because they couldn't verify that they were Jews. Yeah, they just couldn't. They could live in Judah, but they couldn't live in Jerusalem. And so Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the city. They burned the temple. They burned the walls, the gates, the whole thing. So we don't have time to really start chapter 3, but we're going to start chapter 3. Now, you'll see that in Ezra, there are big gaps of time that are kind of not accounted for. But we continue in chapter 3 with the beginning of the building, really the building of the temple. All right. We're done. We'll see you on Sunday.